I found out that my daughter's teacher got her pregnant, and because of his family connections, I couldn't even report him. So I resorted to extremes to get my way. When my daughter was 13, she suddenly became extremely excited about going to school. This was the same girl who 2 weeks ago tried to play dead to skip class. So naturally I asked her why the change. Oh, I now have Mr. Davidson for history every day. His class is super fun. I smiled, glad she was finally not hating school. I didn't think much about it again until a week later, when Emma started setting her alarm 30 minutes earlier just to pick out the perfect cutsy outfit. It's not like Emma never cared about her appearance, but she was always fine with just throwing the first clean thing on. I remember asking her if she was trying to impress a boy she had a crush on, and her face went totally red. "Don't say that, Mom," she yelled. That's when I got truly suspicious. I started looking at her normal teenage mood swings more carefully, and I realized they were always related to Mr. Davidson. She'd never admit it, but I noticed things like if Mr. Davidson complimented her project, she'd float around the house for hours. But if Mr. Davidson didn't acknowledge her much that day, she'd barely speak and pick at her plate during dinner. That's when I tested her in a subtle manner. "I was thinking of moving you out of Mr. Davidson's class. I think it would be good to—" "You can't do that," she yelled before I could even get my words out. I stared at her blankly. "But why not?" I asked. Silence. Deafening silence. She didn't say a word, just stood up and beelined straight for her room, pulling up her phone to text someone before she even reached the stairs. By now I was extremely worried. This was Emma, my girl who just 2 months ago didn't care about a single school-related thing. She was always extremely open about everything too, so this was a huge problem. That night, I crept into her room and searched through her phone. I know this was a huge violation of privacy, but I truly felt like I had no choice. I had a gut feeling she was in danger. I combed through every messaging app I could find, looking for anything at all related to Mr. Davidson, and that's when I found it. An email thread on a backup email she had made seemingly specifically for communicating with him. The last email from him read, "Can't wait to see you during my free period tomorrow." My hands started shaking as I opened the thread, and what I read made me want to throw up. Mr. Davidson was telling my 13-year-old daughter that she was mature for her age and special, and that their connection transcended normal student-teacher relationships. He sent her photos of gifts he'd give to her, and she'd tell him she was hiding them in her bag. I quietly went through her bag as soon as I read it, and that's when I saw it. Expensive professional makeup, mature outfits, stockings, all as gifts from Mr. Davidson. I wanted to puke. What do you even do when you realize your daughter is being groomed? The first thing I did was take pictures of everything with my own phone while trying not to scream. My first instinct was to tell the school, tell the police, tell someone, but I knew I couldn't. Because Mr. Davidson wasn't just any regular teacher. Mr. Davidson's parents donated a lot to the school. His brother was the police chief who'd just spoken at our PTA meeting about protecting children. His wife was on the school board. If I went to the authorities, they likely wouldn't take me seriously, maybe even destroy me. And so, I did the only thing I could think of. I started documenting everything while pretending everything was normal. I began volunteering at school without Emma knowing and watched how he interacted with her. I took photos of the gifts and backed up the emails to different clouds. I started watching documentaries with Emma about consent and talking about news stories where teachers hurt students. I could see the hamster wheel in her head turning as we watched these. She'd often excuse herself midway through, fidget nervously, bite her fingernails. She was finally realizing the truth of what was happening. Unfortunately, this progress was cut short by what is now the worst day of my life, Tuesday. Emma came home from school early saying she felt sick. She bolted for the bathroom and stayed there for over an hour. I heard her sobbing uncontrollably. I finally managed to convince her to unlock the door, where I found her curled up on the floor shaking. I picked her up and held her, fearing the worst, and between gasps she said it. "He said if I loved him I would. I thought I was ready, but it hurt and he wouldn't stop." That's when she pulled away and scrambled for the cabinet under the sink. With trembling hands, she pulled out a pregnancy test. I watched in frozen horror as she held it up, showing 2 pink lines. I couldn't breathe. My 13-year-old daughter was holding a positive pregnancy test, and the man responsible was her teacher. The same teacher whose brother ran our police department. The same teacher whose wife sat on the school board making decisions about our children's safety. I grabbed Emma and held her tight while she sobbed into my shoulder. Her whole body shook with each breath. I needed to get her to a doctor immediately, but I also needed to be smart about this. One wrong move and